Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Let's Talk Life podcast with Ben. And today's episode is going to be a solo episode. It's just going to be me speaking to the camera. I'm going to open up about the ambitions for the channel, some upcoming podcasts, sort of my stance on how I feel with mental health and how it comes about on sort of social media and how it's affected me. And along with that, it's just going to be an introduction to sort of who I am and the reason why I've put this channel together. And just to get started, I've made sure for the podcast, I've picked up a coffee, a nice cappuccino. And one of the driving factors for this channel really is to sort of get to know people and hear their success stories and sort of go from there. So to start off, I'll sort of introduce myself. Obviously, this is the second one. The first one I would have done a sort of an intro, but obviously with Harry, we just cracked on with it, and that was great. And from there, we sort of got to hear his stories, and we sort of went into some other parts of my sort of experiences with mental health and how we can deal with certain things. And today we'll sort of we'll cover that again, but in a bit more detail, and we'll also sort of introduce sort of me as a person onto the channel. And the main reason I really set this up is to sort of give people a platform to sort of to speak about their experiences and sort of how they feel, and as well as that, the success stories where they might feel like it's not being shared as much on Facebook. Creating this platform that allows them to sort of speak out. And again, it's just great to hear people and how they're doing, and especially in the times that we're in now, where we're so stuck at home, and everything's sort of digitally. When you get to speak to someone over Zoom, it is quite nice to sort of hear how they're doing as well, and sort of see someone else's faces apart from the same four walls that we're sort of experiencing now here, especially in England. And when it sort of come down to setting the channel up, I'd really thought about it for quite a long time. I always listen to podcasts, and I always sort of listen to inspirational channels on YouTube as well, because I feel like when you are in sort of quite a low place, you sometimes when you watch something that's kind of inspirational and positive, it does make you feel better, and it makes you reevaluate how you're actually feeling. And I've felt that with a few channels as well, but especially with a podcast form, I love just having sort of an hour to sit down with someone, and we'll talk about everything, the background, how they came across YouTube, how they've started it. But again, I'm not just going to focus on people who are on YouTube as well. I'm going to go outside the box and speak to other podcasters who might stream them on sort of Spotify and Apple Music, and we'll just go from there and see how it goes. So next week I've got two podcasts lined up. The first one I'll be recording on Thursdays with one of my good friends, Connor, and I've known Connor for a long time, probably about 8 or 9 years, and he also has a podcast account as well on Apple Music and Spotify. It's The Art of Interesting People. And ultimately, he's in his last year of university, and he's set this up. And some of the guests that he's had on are absolutely brilliant. And I've loved listening to them. And I feel like his approach to the podcasts and again, how he lets them speak and hears their stories. And the questions just make the podcast flow, and you don't really realize it's just question after question. It's just like listening to a conversation. So I'm really excited to have him on Thursday. And again, we're not really going to have a backstory to it. We're just going to speak about some sort of topics and how we feel about them and sort of go from there and see how it flows. But yeah, I'm really excited with that one. And then on Friday as well, I've got a band that I listen to, one of my favorite bands called 2 Year Break. And the reason I got them on as well, it's just a different genre and different audience. And again, it's going to be great to hear them and sort of see their sort of opinions and where they're going with the band and sort of mental health, because a lot of their songs do have sort of implications to sort of mental health and breakups, the typical pop punk genre, which we all love. And yeah, it's going to be great to speak to them lads. I think it's going to be the whole band as well, which would be great, and we'll get them all on, and we'll speak about sort of tours and going forward with that. And as well as that, I'm going to sort of have some questions to them of like, if you had 3 things left in life, if you had 3 bands you could only listen to, who would you listen to? 3 foods to take on tour. So I think that'll be a good and different sort of dynamic to the podcast as well. And then going forward as well, we're just going to I'm going to aim to try and do one every week on a weekend. Obviously, I work sort of Monday to Friday, so my weekend time's the best when I can sort of negotiate and get some time set with people. And again, I feel like it's going to be such a good thing to just speak to different people and going forward and being really interested in seeing how they're doing in these times and plans ahead, because all we can really do now is plan ahead. And it's really important for your positive outlook on life to really plan ahead and think this is going to be great for when things do get to normal. This is going to be my main focus, and it's going to be amazing. It's something I've waited for. But again, sort of when it comes down to sort of, you know, the successes of the channel and a positive platform and community, with sort of social media as well, I'll go through it a bit later on of sort of the pros and cons to it. And I feel like it is an absolutely brilliant thing for getting people out there and speaking to them. But I really want to build this platform, my Instagram account and my YouTube account, as such a positive community of something that if someone leaves a comment, it's going to be taken respectfully and people might engage in conversations with. And I don't want anything of sort of negativity around it, because I'm really trying to push in these times to make sure that people are doing good and feeling good and hearing the stories as well. And having a positive platform will be good for everyone who comes on the channel, the subscribers to the channel. So again, I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed up to now. I think I'm almost on 30 subscribers, which is more than I really expected to start with. And that the first video of Harry, I think it's got about 450 views. So it's amazing, really. And it's all down to yous. And I really, really appreciate sort of the approach to it and engaging with it and giving it a like and a subscription. So yeah, that's great as well. So I want anyone that comes on the channel to know that it's a safe space for what they're saying, and people will be supportive in the comments and liking and sharing and subscribing. And as well as that, I really want a positive community for myself as well, and just get to know other people and see how it's going and speaking to them and just sort of seeing them grow as people is something that I really, really enjoy. And again, making them smile. And if the podcast lasts half an hour or an hour, it takes them away from reality for a bit and they can listen to it from different people's stances. And then again, that's something that I do when I listen to it. I'll space out. I might be on sort of the Xbox and I'll put a podcast on, and my mind's just immersed to the sort of the podcast as well. And I think that's such a great thing about them. It's just a different dynamic to sort of just watching a video as well, if you can listen to it on your own time as well. So sort of getting to know me as a person. So obviously, if you haven't guessed by now for the title, my name is Ben. I'm 22 years old and I'm from the northeast of England. And I thought I'd go through sort of just some of my interests, because it does link to the podcast, and you'll see some of the guests are at the start people who I've known for a while as I'm building the channel up before I can get other people on. And a lot of the time they'll have the same sort of interests or background that I have as well, obviously, because I've spoken to them before YouTube. So I'm really passionate about music. I love listening to music. It's one of my safe spaces. When I'm feeling down or anything like that, I'll stick some music on. But not even that, even during the working day, I'll have music on all day, you know, in my headphone. And I'm quite well rounded with music. I don't mind any genre really. My main favorites are sort of pop punk, so anything like, you know, if it's generic, it's like a Blink 182, so, and like Neck Deep, A Day to Remember, sort of things like that, you know. People call them sad girl songs, you know. They're always pining after some breakup, and yeah, that's kind of my genre. But I really enjoy country music as well. When I'm really in a sort of a good mood in the morning, you know, like the first hour, I'll put some country music on from Spotify, and it just, I always say to my mom, it's like listening to a journey, and I think it's such a good thing to listen to as well, because the lyrics are a lot of the time really relatable to sort of your experiences. So I really do like country as well. So that's my music stance on things. And again, I'm really keen on sports. So I love football. I'm a supporter of Hartlepool United and Arsenal. So not a lot of success between those two teams. So a lot of my weekends are ruined by the results. But yeah, I love football as well. I love all things football. I'll watch every game, whether it's sort of League Two, conference, which Hartlepool's in, or Premier League, Champions League. If you see me, I've normally got football on my TV, so I love football as well. And as well as that, I love cricket. I'm I used to play cricket, which I'll go into a bit later on. But yeah, I love cricket. I love the game of cricket. I love how a game of test match lasts for 5 days and you can get a draw at the end of it. And some people don't understand, oh, you can watch cricket for 5 days and no one wins. But there's so much interchanging with cricket during the match that it's so gripping, and you need to watch the next hour, or you need to watch after tea or after lunch as well. So yeah, I love cricket as well. And as long as that with my interest as well, I've wrote down as well. If you see me looking to the left, it's because I've got some notes there as well on my whiteboard. So that's why I'm looking to the left. But as well, my job, I work in online marketing, so a lot of the time I do spend on social media during the week. And I think it's gave a good understanding to that as a platform of what you can work towards on social media before I set up the YouTube account. And you can see both the positive side to the social media and some negatives. But like I say, I'll go into that when I go into a bit more detail at the end of near the end of this little podcast, the solo podcast. So with the notes I've sort of gone through why I set up the channel, and probably my main reason is to share the success stories and to push mental health. So when I was doing some research the other day ahead of some podcasts, and today's podcast is kind of a spare at the moment thing. So when I'm recording this, it's a Saturday, so I thought I'd wake up. I got myself obviously my coffee, and I just thought I'm going to do quite a informal podcast of me just speaking to the camera and speaking about sort of experiences and my goals for the channel, obviously because it's only the second episode on here. And as we grow as a channel, I want this to be a video people can revert back to and understand at the start of it why I did this and the goals of it as well. So sort of your ins and outs of the social media aspect of things is the first thing I did with this channel was I set up an Instagram account, and I just raised the awareness with a simple bio and a post on there of sort of what the channel is going to be about. But I didn't really set up the YouTube. I set up the YouTube after I posted obviously my first videos when I set it up, and then I linked it to that. And I just really wanted to build a solid audience on one platform first, and then I moved towards the YouTube side of things as well. And again, on my Instagram, I've got like a link tree on there, so you can press on to subscribe, or you can press on to watch the Bald Cafe podcast, which was obviously the last one with Harry. And yeah, so that's what I did with the social media side of things. And sort of the main awareness of this channel is to push the mental health as well as just the success stories. It's a really big thing for me. I'm trying to think of the wording for this, it's a big thing for me because it's something that's really affected me throughout my life, probably since I was about 12 onwards. Even now it really still does affect me. We're not getting like sort of too deep into this, but like it is one of the biggest things in my life that I have to kind of deal with every day. And when I was, like I said before, when I was doing my research with the channel, I found out that sort of 1 in 4 people in the UK experience any form of mental health issues throughout the year. So it's quite alarming. So 25% of the UK population experience one form of mental health. And I think that the biggest thing that I need to push is mental health isn't just when someone says they're depressed, isn't them in a dark room, for 3 or 4 days with suffering from depression. Mental health can be anything. Mental health can be just self-conscious about your appearance or your weight, or what you're wearing on your clothes, and the things that can be your OCD, which I kind of touched on in the last podcast. OCD is something that not many people see at all because it's something that's not really out of the ordinary. It's something that, like you say, you wouldn't notice it, but this person's really, really feeling it. So OCD is really a big thing that people you wouldn't notice. And as well as that, anxiety and panic attacks. Anxiety and panic attacks are probably the biggest things that I've experienced with the anxiety kind of thing is overthinking it at night. And what you find is when you're overthinking, it's never during the day. When you're overthinking, it's kind of when you're in bed, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're just thinking of scenarios that ultimately are never going to happen. But in your head, they're going to happen first thing in the morning. And I think that's the one of the worrying things is it's one of the most, probably in my eyes, it was one of the most uncontrollable things, because I always found myself back in that same place, 12 or 1 o'clock every night, thinking about sort of my worries. And if people are new to the channel and they don't know, obviously I've been losing my hair, and I'd been losing my hair since I was about 14 years old. So I'm now 22, so that's kind of like 8 years of worry. And I'd always find myself sort of on a night just laying there worrying if the next day, if it was going to be sort of windy, if it was going to be raining, all these things I can't control, which I've realized now, and that I understand now, is the things that I really can't control. But in that moment, it's the biggest worry, and if like I say, if you hear comments about things, if you hear like comments about it, or if it's been windy and you feel like someone's looking at you, it's probably, in my experience, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And like I say, I didn't want something to be controlled, controlling my life really daily for things that I can't control myself. Like putting my hair loss to the back of my mind, or trying to put it in my mind, just didn't solve anything. Ultimately, it made it worse, because your hair obviously gets thinner and your hairline recedes even more. So the anxiety becomes even more crippling at night, because it's getting worse and it's getting harder to hide. Sorry. So yeah. So when I was thinking about sort of the anxiety side of things and the mental health, it did shock me that 25% experience. But the main thing I was trying to push there is it can be in all different forms. It doesn't have to be a major thing, but it is a major thing to them. And I think just providing a platform for people to speak to. I'd love to, like I've just tried to push on the last couple of days of my Instagram DMs are always open. It's hard to do the initial message or speaking about an issue that's definitely been on your mind for a while. And like I say, with my messages are always open, and I'll respond to every single person. And you don't have to worry about that. And again, it's all going to be anonymous. I'm not going to come on the channel and say anything about it. It's all going to be anonymous. So if you've got any issues, whether it's about hair loss, whether it's about feeling self-conscious about your appearance, your weight, whether you've got worries about exams or anything like that, how some sort of mechanisms to sort of counteract those worries, and just think, oh, this is going to be one thing that might help me tomorrow. It probably won't cure the whole thing, but it might help you get an extra 3 hours in bed, which if you're studying for exams is a great thing, because it's going to give you more time to revise and feel in that correct headspace. So I think the channel is going to be around success stories, but as well as I want to be a positive person on the platform and in this sort of little community where people can come to me for advice, because I have experienced, like I say, a lot in my life. And like I say, the worry and stuff, 9 times out of 10, when you're in bed and you're worrying, or you're worrying during the day, it doesn't happen. The experience doesn't happen to you. And you think the day after, why was I even worrying about it? But then again, you end up there again worrying about something else. And what that results is, it results in negativity. And again, you feel so alone. And this is all my experience. So obviously everyone's going to be different with how they feel and how they approach things. But when I was worrying about things that were uncontrollable a lot of the time, they didn't happen, and it resulted in me being negative. And I'd find myself obviously going to work and trying to be as positive as I could, and adapting my fake smile, as I call it, the hi, how are you, and a lot of the time I was feeling awful in myself and really self-conscious. And I'd come home and it just reflect on my body language. I'd feel tired, exhausted. And again, the worst thing about it was an endless cycle, because the next day I'd have to do it all over again. And I hope that can relate to people listening to this as well, because it's really, really challenging when you're struggling, and it's an endless cycle in your head of, I'm never going to be able to get out of this. It's continuous. And what I found was, Monday to Friday with my worries, I'd be so anxious during the week. On a weekend, I couldn't enjoy myself because I was still feeling anxious about other things as well. And again, I felt so unmotivated to do anything. If there was plans going on with my friends, I'd probably, a lot of the time, I'd turn it down, or I'd go and I wouldn't really enjoy it. And I'd feel like I was sort of spending money just for the sake of it, when I wasn't really enjoying it myself. And then before you know it, it's Sunday night and you have to do it all over again. So I think, yeah, my problem was I really bottled it up, and I didn't really sort of be open about the issue until I sort of found sort of like Harry. I spoke to Harry first about hair loss. I sent him an email. But like I said, I'm not just pushing the hair loss side of things. I had other worries as well. I've always been an anxious person. I've always worried about tomorrow. One thing that I want to speak about now, which I don't really tell people, is I'm the biggest worrier for new situations. So if you go into a class and you don't know anyone, that is one of my biggest worries, is people not knowing who you are, you not knowing anyone and not knowing who you can speak to, and that initial sort of awkward phase is probably one of my biggest worries. And I found myself, when I'm doing it, I just try and not overthink the situation. I just wake up and I think, right, the first 5 minutes, okay, it might be awkward, it might be slightly silent in the room, but it's the same for everyone else. And that is the main thing I'm pushing, is everyone in that room, 9 times out of 10 again, will have worried about going into a new environment and meeting new people. So you're not alone with those thoughts. And like I say, it's easier for me to say these things, obviously, than when you're going through it. But obviously I've been through a lot of things myself, and I feel like just openly speaking about it is the greatest step forward. Again, it's not going to cure everything, but making things just out in the open it's a great relief. And then that's the biggest thing. The word is relief there, and it makes you feel really, really sort of really happy that you've told someone, and it's a bit of weight off your shoulders as well. And what I found was I went to my friends. I spoke to my family as well, obviously first, but the real platform was for me to really feel myself again was speak to my friends. And I just popped a message in the group, and at first I felt really anxious if like you say, if no one replied or if people weren't really interested. But they were like I say, props to them, they were absolutely amazing, and then they encouraged me if I had anything to speak about, I could speak to them either in the group or privately. And again, it's just a little sort of bit, again, another word, relief of not feeling alone, that you've got someone to speak to, because ultimately your friends are there for life, aren't they? And a lot of the time they'll be probably going through things that you don't know about as well. So if you're open about things, they might open up things to you. So that was kind of just a little backstory of why I set the channel up, and why I'm sort of pushing the mental health side of things, because it's had a big effect on my life as well. And just some going forward, I think, I've wrote down a few things of sort of ways to manage anxiety, anxiety in particular, or even just your depression, and again, I'm preaching as much as I can. Everyone is different and everyone deals with it differently. But again, these are some things that I really thought about when I was trying to reflect the other day on some topics to speak about sort of today or in future podcasts. And in some ways I thought about dealing with it is sort of taking a bit of time out from the situation, taking a step back. And again, and if you fail, it's not the end of the world. It can be a learning experience. And a learning experience is the biggest thing that I'm going to say here. Failure is not the end of the world. Failure is something that in life we all deal with and we'll all come across, but it's not the end of the world. It's going to be something that when you step back, you can think, what can I do better next time? And again, they're all learning experiences, your dark times. And before you can feel good about yourself, my biggest message here is, before you can feel good about yourself, you've got to experience those dark times and sort of and ride out the storm, and when you're coming to become yourself again. And again, I'm not fully perfect now. I've still got a lot of angst and worries, but I could feel a bit more confident about myself when I've approached these things head on. But I've had to experience the bad things first. And that's probably my biggest thing there is, yeah, it's a cycle of life. I don't think life's intended to be easy. And that's the main thing, really, isn't it? Life's not easy. You'll do things and you might not succeed in them, but again, you can reflect. And the main thing I'm going to push there is, everything I'm speaking about here is just off the top of my head. So if I'm rambling on, I'm sorry. But yeah, the main thing I'm pushing off in the top of my head here is, if you fail, at least you've tried. and I'd never knock anyone for trying anything in life. You know, it's a big jump to try something new. And like I'm doing here with my podcast, this is something new. This might be something that I might do for 3 to 4 years. I might do for a couple of months, but it's something that I've really pushed myself and put myself out there on a platform that is unknown to me. And I'm just trying to, again, spread some positivity and make people feel not alone. So again, step back, realizing it's not a failure, it's just a learning experience. And exercise. So I know at the minute it's really, really hard at the minute with sort of gyms closed in England and stuff, but just going out for a walk or a slow jog, you feel great when you get back. Just half an hour, 45 minutes. So for me, I'm lucky I've got the seafront across the road from me, so you can just walk along the seafront. So that's great. But anyway, walking through the woods, walking paths, anything like that, you know, it's great. And if you can go out with sort of a family member, I've found myself opening up more when I'm outside the house. And I found myself really, really feeling sort of good about myself when I've been outside the house, and sort of relieving all those stresses of being in my room or being in my sort of like games room, and leaving there and sort of being out in the unknown of walking around with people surrounding you. You do open up about things because you're getting the fresh air, you're getting your exercise, and your body's feeling good as well. So yeah, so I just wrote some things down there, you know, just some ways to deal with it. In some ways that I personally dealt with, which I'll just speak about now quickly, is sort of, you know, how I coped with when I was feeling really low a lot of the time. So I'd say probably the start of 2020 to sort of January 2021 was probably some of the hardest times that I really, really experienced. I know it's really hard for everyone with the lockdown and things. But for people who probably were struggling before they went into the lockdown, it was a lot harder to be alone and sort of just struggling around, sort of feeling confident in yourself. So what I did was I sort of wrote a lot of pros and cons lists. And again, I just try not to overthink things, you know. And what I found was with this, when I didn't write things pros and cons down, I'd start thinking about the pros and cons on a night. And before I knew it was sort of like 2 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of the cons were outweighing the pros. And I don't think I was in the right frame of mind on a night to really sort of to evaluate those things, you know, and think, how am I going to improve myself? Because at that time I was only thinking about negatives, and a lot of the time it does happen that you find yourself on a night thinking about the negatives over the positives, or reflecting on things that went bad rather than good. So yeah, I try to get to bed a bit earlier. It wasn't easy, and it's still not easy now, but you know, just switching things off, reading a book. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I've been reading the Arsene Wenger autobiography. So you know, it's been a good read to get yourself off your phone and off social media and the most addictive thing in the world, TikTok. Before you know it, you've been on there for sort of like an hour and a half. So you know, I found myself trying to read a bit more, get myself more a bit educated on that side of the front, and listening to music as well. Just stick your headphones in and just sort of go from there and see how you feel after you've listened to a few songs. So yeah, so I've kind of opened up there about my battles and my struggles, and you know, I found I was never putting really never found myself putting myself forward and putting my mental health first and my sort of feelings. But obviously we'll go into more things in the podcast, but I don't want people to feel like I'm speaking about the same things constantly, because the main reason I am speaking about these things constantly is because they're not getting pushed enough. And I feel like it's just such a struggle to get things out in the open now, you know. And I really want to create that, like I've said many times in this video, create that platform for people to feel comfortable approaching me, and just and going from there. So going from there, like I say, my main goals for this channel again is to encourage people to speak to me. And like I said, prefer to see smiles and happiness over views. Views are excellent. Views are great for my channel to grow, so hitting the like button is great. But I'd prefer someone to watch this video and feel great than watch this video and just be a number. And like I say, I don't want people bottling things up and feeling alone and watching this video for the sake of it. I want people to take something from a video and think, can I reflect on that and really improve how I'm feeling as a person as well? So yeah, so that's my main thing there with sort of the channel. And I hope I haven't sort of rambled on too much with this one. And just to end things, I've got a couple of quotes that I really want to go through and leave this sort of video on a positive note. And I've shared one of them on my Instagram the other day. If you want to follow my Instagram, it's Let's Talk Life with Ben, or on Instagram as well. And obviously, I found this on my channel as well. So if you could please hit the subscribe button and the like button, that'd be absolutely great, because that'll reach new people and reach new content creators and YouTube subscribers as well. So that'd be amazing. So just to end off today's sort of video is 2 positive quotes. So the struggle you're in today is only going to develop the strength you need tomorrow. And again, to end off with this one, I love this one. In every day, there's 1,440 minutes, and that means you've got 1,440 daily opportunities to make a positive impact on your life and someone else's as well. So, like I said, guys, thanks for watching this podcast. And like I said, I've got 2 podcasts lined up this week, so I'll try and get those edited and put together sort of next week and maybe the start of the week after that. But hopefully I'll get this podcast up pretty soon. I'll do the editing straight away now. And again, like I said, thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate the time, and have a lovely day. And like I say, if anyone wants to speak to me, my messages are always open. So thanks.